Well, I think in the past quarter century we've been through a lot. I think a lot has happened in the past 25 years. When it was first returned to mainland China, I think it's also very good times, because China was experienced tremendous growth as a whole from the late 90s to the early 2000s. And Hong Kong really benefited a lot in terms of business, in terms of integration, in terms of, say, CPPCC was enacted in the early 2000s. A lot of much more exchanges between the Hong Kong and mainland. And before the return, actually the exchanges were very limited and very little. But we saw a big surge in cooperations between both sides of the aisle. But as we can say, as facts tells us, actually from the early 2010s, Hong Kong has slowly become much more political. Every issue has been politicized. And since 2012 to 2014, and then eventually the riots in 2019, and now COVID, Hong Kong has really been through a tough time, I think, both politically and also on the business front for the past 10 years. So the way I see it, the pendulum is swinging again. Now that we are, greeting the 25th year of the return to the mainland this year, and I think it's time to start again the close cooperation between Hong Kong and mainland, but more importantly, to do it together and face the international community together in unity in terms of business and also other cultural exchange and other issues as well. I think the level of cooperation is different. Before it used to be, within each other. Now we should be hand in hand going out to embrace the new future. Well, I think it's very interesting. A lot of people compare Hong Kong to Singapore simply because of size and population. I mean, Singapore, there are issues there are policies and experiences that we should definitely watch out of, and I'm sure there are also very good policies that they implement we can learn from. But I think specifically when you say about COVID, it's very different. It's very different. The situation that we are in and the situation that they are in are totally different. And I would say that we're in a much better position because we have the support of China mainland, and Singapore doesn't. It needs to open up, otherwise it doesn't have any resources. So this is what they have chosen the path to take. But for Hong Kong's policymaking, we have to think about the bigger picture and how it affects Hong Kong not only, and also the mainland in Shenzhen, Guangzhou, or the mainland as a whole. So in terms of a health policy, there has to be clear communications between us and also different authorities in mainland China. I think this has to happen. We have to fight the virus as a whole. And as we understand, China is a huge country with different disparities across our nation. So I think we have to be more careful in dealing with COVID and health crisis, and we have to put the lives and livelihood of our citizens at first place. So in terms of this, I think it's much more important to think of the bigger picture here and not simply just compare with other people's policy and say what's best. Well, I think there are these practical issues, right, about exchanges and opportunities. I think now we're trying to push for more meaningful exchanges between youth from Hong Kong and the mainland, using more their language and their interests. And the one area that I see has great potential is sports and culture. I've spoken to a lot of young people. They really want to have a common language. They really have a lot of common interests. Can we organize more programs, more events for people of different background to join? I think this is something that's meaningful. And Beijing has also, embraced this idea by giving us a lot of Greater Bay Area themed events, such as the All China Game in 2025. I think that's a great platform for young people, sportsmen or not, to join in something special that we do it together. I think secondly is about opportunities, because if you have just one event, you go to the mainland, you learn new friends and you come back. But secondly, I think more important, where do you find your path in your career? I think Hong Kong is a small place. Hong Kong has a lot of opportunities, But I think our young people should look further and broader and gain more experience besides Hong Kong. So I think how they can go over the border to the Greater Bay Area or even elsewhere to seek their opportunity, to seek their career path, I think it's also interesting. I mean now, up to today, the latest statistics for Hong Kong Form 6 students studying outside of Hong Kong, mainland is still the top number. It's the largest out of all the other countries and regions. So, I think this exchange is getting more and more multi-leveled. It's not just about simple events anymore. They're studying in the mainland, they're working there, they're starting a family there. So a lot of things that we need to do to enable that to happen. For example, if you were to work in the mainland and you start a family, you find a wife and you have kids, then you have to sort out the kids' education. This is what we're doing in the GBA now. 港人子弟学校, so school for Hong Kong parents, for example. There are different curriculums. So these are the practical things that we need to think about when we talk about exchanges and integration. So I think it's a lot of work to be done in the next 10 years.